so that anybody who couldn't join us this week will be able to watch this and get the information another way. My brain just forgot how to share a screen. There we go. So these are actually drawings that our friend Austin did of us. This is me. I'm Allegra Davis Hanna. I teach English for the Connect campus. I've taught online for about 6 years, maybe 7. I don't do math very well. And I'm the department chair of English and Humanities.
Hello, and that is me, the ghost on the right. My name is Cristina, so I do exist. And I am the Dean of Academic Affairs for TCC Connect.
And this is a picture of a cat I got yesterday.
Oh my gosh, so cute.
I just thought you all needed to see that. All right, so.
It's an example of online presence, so.
Sure, that's what it is. So we're going to talk today about instructor presence in an online class. And the 2 things we know from research and from personal experience is that an instructor's behavior is a key factor in student success. And that means that you can set up the most beautiful course in the world, but the way you teach the course and interact with students is a key factor, if not the #1 factor, in how students do in the course. And students' perceptions affect their outcomes. We all care about students, but students need to know that and perceive that. And if they perceive that instructors are invested in their success and are approachable, then students are likely to do better in the course. So approachability and instructor presence is important because these are 3 things that we always want to remember and be intentional about in online classes: inclusion, accessibility, and engagement. Inclusion means that all students feel like they are active, welcome members of a learning community in your course. So you have to intentionally set up that environment in the way you design the course and the way you interact with students. Accessibility means that all items in your course can be accessed and used by all students. And engagement means that the course is interesting and engaging to students. Now, this doesn't mean that we have to put on clown makeup and do a dance for them, but it does mean that we have to be aware of students' needs, like giving them multiple ways to learn the same information. So we're going to talk about how to focus on these 3 things while creating instructor presence in an online class. So the first thing we want you to do is think about the worst teachers you've ever had. And when I say the worst teacher you ever had, it could be a mean kindergarten teacher, or it could be your dissertation advisor. But think about the adjectives you would use to describe the worst teacher you ever had. And you don't have to shout them out. You can put them in the chat if you want, or it can just be a mental exercise. What words would you use to describe the worst teachers you've ever had? I would say mean, boring, or bored. I can't see the chat because I'm presenting and recording, so Christina's going to read the chat if anybody puts something there.
Judgmental and not understanding. Cold. Biased.
Biased.
Unconcerned.
Unconcerned.
Non-responsive.
Yes. That's very tough in an online class as well. Non-responsive. You're like, I can't come to your office hours, so I don't know what to do if you don't answer the email. So hopefully when you think about what kind of teacher you are going to be this semester, you want to be as far away from all of those adjectives as possible, I would hope. And now I want you to think about the best teacher you've ever had. This is my favorite fictional teacher, Mr. Feeney from the show Boy Meets World. And I'll tell you, Mr. Feeney was very caring. He had a great sense of humor. He was invested in his students. He took the rules seriously, but he related to them as humans. He's a great model teacher for most of us. But think about the best teacher you ever had, the ones that stick with you. We've all had a great teacher in our lives, and what words you would use to describe that great teacher. They were probably very knowledgeable about the content area. They were probably very smart, but what else were they?
Responsive.
They responded. They answered. They showed up. They cared about you, and it was clear that they wanted you to be successful. Their main objective was not to prove a point or to enforce a rule, but instead to help you grow and learn as a person, perhaps. So whoever your best teacher is that you think of when I ask the question, think of your best teacher. We hope that as you plan your semester, you aspire to be as similar to those adjectives as you can. And we can't all be the best teacher every day of every semester, but we can aspire to be more like Mr. Feeney and less like that lady from Bad Teacher, which by the way the movie Bad Teacher is like super funny. So we're going to talk today about online presence, and online presence is everything that you do in your online course to be present. Now, instructor presence in a face-to-face course is pretty easy. You walk in the door and you're present, no problem. But in an online course, we have to think about things more intentionally. It's easier to be flexible in an online course because we're not locked into certain hour-and-a-half blocks, but we do have to be more intentional to be present and to make sure our students perceive that we're there. There are 3 kinds of instructor presence. The first is cognitive presence, and that is basically everything that exists in the course before the students enter. So that's the course design, the lesson content, the videos you've made, the resources you've curated, the assessments, the essays, the rubrics, all of that stuff that you build in a course is cognitive presence. And it's important that those items are built with, remember, inclusion, accessibility, and engagement in mind. So I like to give my students something to read, something to watch, something to listen to, and something to look at in every single lesson. Now, you don't have to do that for every single lesson between now and August. I've been teaching online for a long time, and I'm adding things to the existing peer developed course. So I don't want you to think, oh man, I have to redo everything. But this gives students some variety. It's engaging to students. It gives them more than one way to access information. It's all accessible, and it's all related to the content. I also do my best to make sure that the course just looks pleasant and is easy to navigate. So this is just a screen capture from one of my lessons. You'll see there's a video, there's a PowerPoint with lesson notes, and then I made this little reminder banner for my students. Sometimes they don't check announcements, which I use frequently and are super important. So I like to remind them to check announcements. These are some more screen grabs from my course. So you'll see I made these little, I call them mini markers, but these little banners that just make things a little easier to navigate and nicer to look at. And for every lesson, I have a lesson introduction, and that connects whatever we're doing this week to whatever we did last week. It helps me emphasize the most important information. And sometimes it helps me be a little encouraging to students if we're going to talk about something that's I know is tough, like thesis statements. So I have a lesson introduction, which is just typed text, and then I read it and record an audio file. So already my students have something to listen to and something to read. And of course, it's an English class, so they have plenty to read in their textbooks. Anytime I give my students a piece of literature to read, I try to find photo of the author for them to see. Students really like to see what the authors of a piece of literature look like. And I also embed lots of videos and give them lots of links to external resources so that I can make things a little bit more relevant for them. So when we think about cognitive presence, this is probably what you spent the most time thinking about in preparation for fall. How am I going to build the course? How am I going to make the video? What do I need to put in each lesson? Make sure that what you're building gives students some variety. And you may not get to listen, watch, read, and look in every single lesson, but your course should have some of each. And think about the kinds of assessments you use. If you only have 3 tests and they're all multiple choice objective tests. Consider giving students some variety in terms of assessment. That doesn't mean get rid of tests. You can't get rid of multiple choice tests in math or science courses, but you can add discussion boards, or you can add brief writing assignments where students reflect on things to give them different ways to show their learning. Instructional presence is the second kind of online presence, and that's what you do in the course as a teacher. So throughout the semester, you're interacting with students, you're grading their work, you're giving them feedback, you're answering their emails, you're posting announcements. All of that is instructional presence. That's who you are as a teacher in the online class. So this includes things like how long it takes you to respond to emails and how well you communicate things with students, the methods you use to communicate. So do you use a lot of announcements? Do you participate a lot in discussion boards? Do you send students a lot of automated emails, personalized emails? What kinds of readings do you have, and how do you have students responding to them? And the variety of assessment and feedback types, so different ways to get feedback to students as well. So I have to ask myself, when is it vital to spend that extra time giving deep, rich feedback, and when is it more important to get them information rapidly? So sometimes I'm going to dive really deep and spend a lot of time getting them deep, rich feedback, and that's going to take a long time. And sometimes I just want to get them grades back as soon as possible to give them a progress check. And I have to ask myself, what kinds of feedback help students learn? Not all students benefit from that great summary comment at the end of their paper. Some of them need little hints or little comments along the way. Some of them prefer a rubric because that makes sense. It's a check mark, it's mathematical, it's straightforward. So I use different kinds of feedback as systems as well. And sometimes faculty members let students choose which kind of feedback they receive. So we have an English professor who says, I can handwrite things on your paper, I can type a comment on your paper, or I can send you audio feedback. Let me know what you prefer. And so for major essays, students pick the kind of feedback. Now that is time intensive, so that's not on every assignment. But if it's a major assignment that is important to their progress as a writer, you might want to consider giving them some options. And of course, it's important to ask, how do students understand how they are graded? So do you show them the rubric beforehand? Do you explain expectations clearly? If they get a grade back, can they see where they lost points and where they did well? So these are two screen grabs from my course, and they're cropped a little weird because I had to take out student identifying information. But on the left, this is from my creative writing course, and I tell my students, on your major drafts of your major assignments, it's going to take me a long time to get you feedback. Sometimes in a 16-week semester, that's as long as 3 weeks to get feedback, because I take their final draft, I look at their first draft, and I read their revision memo where they describe what they did to revise the work. I'm looking at all three, I'm reading them carefully, and I'm handwriting all over their essays or poems on my iPad. Now, if students say I don't want handwritten comments, then I'll type them, but I'll type in just as much detail. So I tell them ahead of time, don't be nervous if it takes 3 weeks to get it back. This is why. I'm only going to do this on your drafts, but it's important, obviously, in a creative writing class for me to seriously and deeply engage with their work and to look at their writing process and to give them feedback, not just on their final draft, but on what they changed and how they've grown throughout the unit. But sometimes on discussion board assignments, for instance, I'll use something that's on the right, which is a very quick rubric. Now this gives them good detailed feedback because each of these proficient, above average, I don't know why I'm pointing at the monitor with my finger, you can't see that. The proficient, above average, average, doesn't meet standard. All of these have score point descriptors that students can see. So if they want to know why they lost 3 points for thesis or why they lost 6 points for topic sentences and organization, it describes it there for them. And I customize those based on what students tend to do in my classes. And there's a place for me to type comments if a student does something that is atypical. But this gives them good feedback. It's not quite as personalized, it's not quite as deep and rich, but it's very quick. I can grade the whole assignment in a couple of days for all my classes if I use the rubrics. And this is what it looks like if you grade using turnitin.com. So you access this through Blackboard. Blackboard is a pass-through to Turnitin. Students submit their work. There are reusable comments. So this one right here that says run on. If a student were to click this, it would say, this is a run-on sentence. Here's what a run-on sentence is. Here's links to resources on improving sentence structure. I can put custom comments, just like this one. So I just click this, type in the comment. I can highlight things. I can obviously do a plagiarism check, and then I can write a summary comment over here to the side. But if a student wanted me to, I could record a voice comment of up to 3 minutes right here in Turnitin. And if students opt for that, or if students, if you want to try that with students, it sometimes helps soften the blow to hear you explaining it rather than reading it. You can get some of the nonverbal in your tone of voice and make it so they realize, okay, I didn't ruin everything. This isn't as bad as it looks. And a lot of times I don't provide individual feedback. So for instance, on discussion boards, I grade them, but I don't reply to each student. I do a lot of engagement through announcements. And so this is an example of an announcement. I have no excuse for why this is cropped weird. But at the end of this, I'm going to open my course and you can see what my announcements look like. I try to be encouraging. I try to be engaging. I try to remind students of what we're doing. But this right here, some things to remember for lesson 2. This is like me giving them feedback before the assignment is due. So these are common pitfalls for students in thesis statements. And so I'm giving them a little advice before they turn them in to prevent some errors. And I just give them updates on the course and try to keep them on track. And the third kind of instructor presence is social presence. And this is the most fun and my favorite, and what I have spent a lot of time researching, and Cristina and I have done a lot of work and presentations on social presence. This is basically everything that isn't directly related to the course content. So this is not an instructional content. That doesn't mean it's frivolous or not important. In fact, in some ways, it might be the most important kind of presence. So this is your strategies for communication, engagement, connection, and basically showing people you're a real human person and not a grading robot. So these are some examples of social presence in my online class. I have these Bitmojis, which are little cartoon versions of me. I put one in basically every announcement. At the bottom, this is a screen grab, so it doesn't move, but this is a GIF. So if you've seen the show Parks and Rec, or you happen to really like Rob Lowe, then you think this GIF's funny and hilarious. If you don't know who they are and you don't care, it's okay. You can just scroll right past the GIF. But that's a post on the group work, so it's a little GIF that says teamwork. Sometimes I share playlists with my students. In the metaphor section of my poetry class, then obviously I'm going to make a playlist of songs that rely heavily on figurative language, but sometimes I just post in an announcement a playlist of just songs I think might be motivational if they're working on a hard assignment. And again, that's compelling for some students and other students don't care, and that's okay. I'm just trying to make sure students know I'm a human, I'm approachable, I have likes and dislikes, and I'm happy to work with them and engage with them. All of those kinds of things that your in-person students get by default, right? You talk about things before class or after class. They get to see your facial expressions. If you have, you know, a button or a backpack, they get to see little pieces of your personality and get your sense of humor. And so we just have to intentionally infuse those things into our online class. So the things that you have to do for social presence, whether you want to be a big goofy dork like me or not, you have to find a way to substitute nonverbals so that students don't read everything in the harshest possible tone of voice. You have to help fill in the gap. So think about, what do your in-person students know about you if they visit your office? Do you have a Batman poster? Do they get to see what kind of books you like? Do they see a picture of your dogs? fill in some of those gaps for students so that they feel like you're an approachable human being. And those are my dogs. And I already showed you my cat. My cat's staring at me right now. So some basic social presence ideas is to reach out in some way to 5 students per class per day. That gets you every student every week. So that's an aspirational goal. You don't have to start with that, but reaching out to those students could be responding to 5 people individually on a discussion board, emailing 5 people to follow up or check in on them, spending extra time reading their assignments and giving them extra feedback. Sometimes that means I don't just look at this week's assignment, I compare it to something from a few weeks ago and make sure we're not making the same mistakes over and over again. If the student is making the same mistakes over and over again, I want to catch that. So that's why I, try to pick 5 students per class per day and really dive deep and make sure that they're getting my attention the way an in-person student might. And of course, infusing your personality, whatever your genuine, real personality is, into the course. If you have a sense of humor, use it. If you don't have a sense of humor, please don't try to pretend like you do. That's usually where people laugh, but I'm just going to assume you're all laughing in your homes. But absolutely put your personality in little ways in the course. It doesn't have to be the you show, but and when I open my course, you'll see just little ways that students see what kind of person you are and get a sense of you as an individual. So questions, what do your students know about you? Do students get a chance to know each other? What makes you an approachable instructor? And how do you substitute nonverbal cues? And for a minute, I just want to talk to you about approachability. It's something that we don't really think about until we have to. So this is a picture of me. My husband graduated from UNT last year. He retired from the Air Force. He used a GI Bill to graduate from UNT. And yeah, he did wear a Batman t-shirt to his college graduation because that's who he is. But he took some online classes while he was there, and the teachers were great and they were content experts and he learned a lot, but they were not necessarily approachable, or they didn't make their approachability clear. So when he was in a class and an assignment was very unclear and there was conflicting information in 2 different places, and he said, "What do you think I'm supposed to do?" And I read it and I said, "I don't know, just email her." And he said, "Oh, no. Are you crazy? I'm not going to email my instructor. That's not going to happen. I don't want to be the problem student. I don't want to bother her. I don't want her to dislike me. I don't want her to think I'm second guessing her. I don't want her to grade me harshly on the next assignment. I'm not going to ask her a question. I'm just going to suffer in silence and go back through all of these things and then kind of guess what I'm supposed to do and turn it in. Obviously, I'm not going to email her." And it's not because she wasn't an approachable person. She probably was, but she didn't intentionally make sure that her class demonstrated that she was an approachable person. And so we're not talking about a 18-year-old fresh out of high school student who was afraid to email their college instructor. We're talking about someone who retired from the Air Force who was afraid to email their instructor because she wasn't intentional about putting approachability into her course. And the good thing about working at TCC is everybody on our campus and everybody that we interact with is approachable when we meet them in person. So it's just important that you intentionally infuse approachability into your online class. And that includes the way you respond to emails, the things that you include in your course, the ways you infuse your personality, and the way that you respond to students. This is a picture of my sister. She teaches online at UNT. She's also works in the library, forgot the word library. And when she has questions about her online class and what she's supposed to do, she's afraid to ask the instructional designers there, so she asked me. Now, I am an international expert in online teaching, so it makes sense that she would ask me, but she doesn't find the instructional designers to be approachable. So I just want you to keep in mind that you have to be approachable to students, but you also want to be approachable to your colleagues so that if they have questions or they need a sounding board, that you're someone that they can reach out to, because your colleagues are teaching 100 students this semester too, and we care about those students as much as we care about our own. So it's everybody's job to be intentional and approachable and kind and to invite people to ask them questions. That's the end of my speech about approachability. So this is from a Meet Your Instructor section in my course. I made this little banner. I will show you at the end of the course how I made this banner, I promise. And so if you don't want to make an instructor introduction video, or if you're not sure you'll have time, you can put a picture of yourself and a very pleasant, fun little bio, and you'll see that this doesn't have super personal information. It's how to get started in the course, how long I've been teaching, where I went to college, what I like to do in my free time, and what my favorite book is. So you don't have to reveal personal details to students if you don't want to. Some people have pictures of their kids. Some people don't want to put pictures of their kids in their course. Either approach is fine. But I made this little banner so the kids, my students, know that I like to go to the movies and I like Batman. And I found a picture of my glasses that look like my glasses. This is a course banner that I made for my Composition 2 course. This is my instructor introduction video, which I can send you a link to. And also in the Meet Your Instructor section of my course, I link students to my podcast. They don't have to listen to it. It's not required. I make it with the history instructor. So I let students listen to it if they'd like to. So before I open my course, I just want to give you 4 pieces of advice. Number 1, it's okay to fail. If you try some of this stuff and it doesn't work really well, that's okay. Try something different. Not everything is for everybody. Don't try to do all of this at once. So don't go back to your courses for the fall and try to put all of this stuff in there at once. That will be a disaster and overwhelming for you. Be authentic. So if dorky cartoon versions of yourself are not for you, that's okay. You don't have to do that. Do what works for you. Your students want to learn from you, and our students have it's very easy for them to detect when a person is being inauthentic or disingenuous. So do whatever reflects who you are as a person. And my last piece of advice is to team up with a colleague. So Cristina, Austin, and I don't know if Austin's in here or not, but Cristina, Austin, and I are constantly text messaging each other. Hey, I tried this. Hey, look at this video I made. What do you think of this? I'm trying to do this. What do you think I should do? Can you help me with this? And so even if I had a good idea and I was pretty sure it was a good idea, it's just nice to get a little verification from a colleague before I put it in my course. Or it's nice to get, it's nice to be able to congratulate a colleague for doing something really well. So team up with someone who you're comfortable with and you can kind of experiment and bounce ideas off of. Okay, so I'm going to open my course, but I want you to know in our PowerPoint, this slide exists and it links you to most of the stuff that we've shown you. So Canva is where I make the banners and the mini markers and the graphics. Pixabay is where I get pictures like this, so they're Creative Commons or not copyright violated if I want to use actual photographs. Bitmoji is how I make those little cartoon versions of myself. If you want information on how to build a rubric in Blackboard, you click here. If you want some OERs so that you can build a course that doesn't rely on a textbook, you can go here. If you want technical help with something in Blackboard, you email our instructional design team. You're always welcome to send me an email. It's taking me like a day to respond to people this week because I've told like 1,000 people to send me an email, but I'm happy to respond to everyone. You're not bothering me. I love talking about online teaching. I love helping people bring their ideas to life. So if you get stuck on something, just send me an email. And of course, the team space I link to it here. If you're not a member, let me know and I'll add you to the team. It's not a private team by any means, and that's where we're going to be all semester asking and answering questions about online teaching. So while I get to opening my course, I might actually let Cristina speak a few words out loud and ask any questions that you have. Cristina doesn't want to speak, I guess.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you just wanted me to read questions and there aren't any. Did you ask me a question? My dog distracted me.
No, I just talked the whole time, so I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add.
No, I would just say that one of the biggest complaints when I started as dean in, was it 2018?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Seems
I
like
think
20
so.
years ago.
Yeah, it feels like 20 years ago, was from students was in relation to faculty not responding to their emails or not getting timely feedback on assignments. And throughout the years, Allegra and some of our other faculty have presented sessions like these and provided guidance for our online instructors. And those complaints have just significantly gone down. So, Allegra has been doing this for quite a while. So her course, it may be daunting if you're not used to teaching online, but she has built up this online presence throughout the years and continues to improve her class. So I hope that you got a lot of great information, and please, as Allegra said, don't feel like you have to do it all. But, do what you can to support students, and let us know how we can support you and help you.
All right, so this is my current summer class. This is my creative writing course. This banner I made on Canva, and if you'd like me to later, I can show you exactly how to do that. These are announcements I posted to my students. So I posted this announcement yesterday, actually. I got like 6 students asking me questions about whether they had to respond to their group members during peer revision. So if a bunch of students asked me, obviously it wasn't clear enough. So I posted an announcement. I posted this a few days ago when we started the poetry unit. And hey, look, there's that teamwork GIF. So I do a lot of stuff in announcements. I just say, in case you like listening to music while you write, here's a playlist this week. Super glad someone's doing yard work right now. Great. So this was my course welcome announcement. And I wrote it all. Can you hear me still? I'm going to assume yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm super sorry about that. I do not know why that is happening at this exact moment, but that's fine.
We can't hear the background noise.
Oh, okay, good. So it's just here to bother me. It's a leaf blower right outside my office. Okay, so I wrote the welcome announcement. I put how to get started in the class, what my expectations are for students. It's a summer class, so I need them to check Blackboard every day, check their emails, send announcements. My policy is on late work, and then I say, here's what you can expect from me. And I put a little, you got this at the bottom. And then I made a video of it. I'm not gonna make you like listen to the video, but it's just me talking, showing them pictures, and walking them through the announcement. So it's really just me reading the announcement with some pictures. Very easy to make in PowerPoint. So in the lessons, what do you guys want to learn about? Identifying techniques and devices in poetry? You got it. So my lessons have an overview, a checklist, and a list of what to turn in. And here is a lesson introduction. So this is me introducing them to poetic devices. If they click this, they'll hear me reading it. Here's the lesson notes. There's a video. If they want to watch a video, I think that's a TED Ed video on metaphor. Some external links to figurative language. Here's the poems that they can read. I made a GIF or a GIF, depends on how you pronounce that one. And here are their assessments for this lesson. So there are journal entry, discussion, and in a creative writing class, every lesson has a writing exercise. My Comp 2 class is going to look pretty much the same. Has a course banner, had a bunch of announcements. I think this was a second 8-week class. So this announcement was a research paper FAQ. I actually reuse this announcement every semester. And then the lessons, again, are going to look pretty similar.
Hey, Allegra.
Yeah.
Jacob has a question about, is the video done in PowerPoint first before you put it on YouTube?
Yes, so that is a voiceover PowerPoint, and I can show you what that looks like in PowerPoint. If you go, oh, it's because it thinks I'm still doing a slideshow, I guess. I don't understand what the problem is. Let me try a different PowerPoint. That was defective. All right, so if you go to record slideshow right here, and you say start recording from the beginning, you can record narrations, you can draw on the PowerPoint, you can do a laser pointer. I actually don't want to start recording. And it records it as something called a PowerPoint show. But if you go to File and then Export, you can actually save it as an MP4, which is something that can be uploaded directly into YouTube. And if you go to if you have gone to our 10 kind of video session, we walk through what to do with that video. But honestly, if you just create the video, then you send it to Austin Haynes and he'll put it on the district YouTube channel, or you can create your own YouTube channel and post it there. But actually, a new tool in PowerPoint, maybe it's not new, maybe I just learned about it, I don't know, is that you can also record screencast videos using PowerPoint. So that is a video you make using PowerPoint, recording a video that isn't of PowerPoint. So if I wanted to do a screencast video of like a course walkthrough, I could use PowerPoint to do it. So I made this banner in Canva. Do you want to read about, you want to learn about poetry today?
No. We have, I don't know if you caught that other, oh, did I unmute myself when I said that? Isn't it too slow to save the video? Did you get that question?
I don't know what that means.
I think if you upload, oh, well, let me just ask. Instructor Kim, can you provide more context to your question? I was thinking about, saving videos. If you save them actually in Blackboard, that's not a good idea. It's better to upload in YouTube and post the link in your course.
Yeah.
Okay, and PowerPoint video making takes forever to save as a video.
Oh, well, not if you follow best practice and don't make a video that's longer than 10 minutes. It does take a little bit to save the video, save it as an MP4 to your hard drive, especially if your computer is, this is being recorded, especially if you have not a super fast computer. So, but your video shouldn't be longer than 10 minutes anyway, no matter what. So that won't take as long. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. When you hit save to export to MP4, it does take a little bit. And then it takes a few more minutes to get it uploaded to YouTube. Other questions so far?
Nope. Just
okay.
Somebody complimented your banners.
Well, my banners are internationally famous. So, just kidding, obviously. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left, and I can show you how to make a video, how to make a banner, how to make an audio file. I can show you some more stuff in my classes. What would be the most compelling for you?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
In regards to labs, is there any type of instructions you can give on labs? I'm a tech security teacher, and we're going to have labs up as part of our training.
Yes. So you are just wondering how you can do what in a lab?
How can I incorporate labs as part of my training? I guess, do you do videos for labs, or do you?
It depends. So yes, there are lots of folks who do demo videos for labs. And I know mostly in terms of lab, I know about lab science. So they kind of mount their cell phone camera and they show themselves doing something as a demo video. Sometimes they have students create videos and record those and upload it. So if, for instance, part of the course competency was how to change a tire, which I know is not what you're doing, but that's the only example I can think of. Then you might have students record a video themselves, changing a tire, and then uploading it and submitting that YouTube link for a grade. So video is one way that you can have students do proficiency in labs. I know that our lab science folks have a lot of experience with incorporating the labs into the course. And so we can connect you with our science department chair if you have really specific lab questions, because I teach English. But yeah, video is a great way to do demos and to have students do demos, and our speech teachers do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
I have a quick one, Allegra.
Good.
You had shown that really nice, instead of making an instructor introduction video, you had just like a written intro with a little banner at the top.
Yeah.
Do you post that as like a Blackboard file? How did you get that to the students?
So I have, in every course that we teach and in all of our peer developed courses, we have a Meet Your Instructor section. So
I see it over there. Yeah.
In that Meet Your Instructor section, I have a video now, but I used to just have this banner and then that text underneath it.
Okay, so you just did.
Yeah, it looked like that.
Okay, so the banner is easy. I've done banners before, so that is not hard. And then you would just type the text in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought maybe you made some kind of poster or something and then imported that.
No, I mean, honestly, text is easier for students to read if it's in a Blackboard item or in a Word document.
Okay.
Those are the two easiest ways to get text to students.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. And if after you do that, you want to step it up a notch, you can record yourself reading that audio, that instructor introduction, and post the audio file as well. So you still don't have to make a video, but it gets them some interactive content there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And
okay, I see a few people saying, please make a banner. So I'm going to go to that. But what other questions are you seeing in the chat, Cristina?
How to make an audio file.
Okay.
Oh, and then I'm sorry, I skipped. Did you answer Meredith's question? I don't know why I'm so distracted today. I think the window's open and that's not helping. But she
the window's open?
Yeah, the shades are open so I can see outside.
Oh, okay. So a lot of people actually have asked me about this text wrap question.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So this is an announcement, and I wish that this was a more magical secret, but when I uploaded the image, when you click on this little image icon to put up the photo, you type in your image description and your image title, and that's alt text for students who can't see the picture, just so they know what it is. And over here on appearance, I just right align it, but you can also put it in the left align and, oops, sorry. And then I put horizontal space and vertical space so that there's a little space around it and the text doesn't run all the way into it. But if I right align it, that will make text go right up to the edge of it, but not over top of it. And then I update. And that's it. Right align. That's the magic button. That's all I got. You just right align it. So to make a banner, so you go to canva.com. It's Canvas without the S. It's a graphic design website. It's where a lot of people make banners and stuff for Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. But it's where I have made all of those little graphics. I made this one to help demo for somebody else. So a course banner, the big banner that goes across the top of my announcements page, I made in Canva with the dimensions 2000 by 200. And so if you have to set up an account, but you can set up a free account in Canva. You go to create a design, custom dimensions, 2000 by 200. And then you have this blank design. Now I use these dimensions because Blackboard is not mobile responsive. So I need it to be very wide in case students are looking on a computer monitor, but I only put text in the left third of the banner because if students are looking on a cell phone, all of this part of the banner will get cut off. So you click on background and you can choose any background you want. If you wanted a lollipop or this blue fabric, you can see most of these backgrounds say free, so you really don't need a paid account to do this. I do personally have a paid account, but I also use it for like family photo collages, and I did stuff for my wedding, so I make a lot of use of this. So let's say we wanted this mountain range. This would be great if you taught, I don't know, geology. You can add text. You just click over here and add text. It really is kind of Fisher Price. Now that doesn't mean that it's made for kids, but it really is like the buttons say text, and that's how you add text. So let's say I want it to be Professor George. I think someone in our session has that last name. So you can change the font if you wanted to make it look a particular way. You can change the color of the text. And of course, you can make the text bigger. It's a horrible color combination. So if this were a geology class, I might want, and so I would go over to elements and I might want to add, I don't know, what do you do in geology? Rocks. So I'm going to add this rock that actually looks kind of like a cotton ball.
It does.
Maybe a hammer. This is where I get geology and archaeology confused, but I could add a hammer if I wanted to. I don't know what you do in geology. I'm very sorry. In like the year 2001, I was TCC's Geology Student of the Year, but that was a long time ago. Or if you just wanted like a decorative star, you could add that. And so you'll see some of these say free, which means you can add them, and some of them have a little crown, which means you can only use them if you're a pro member. But that star's free. So let me get rid of my cotton ball hammer situation and just put this pretty star. And eventually you end up with a banner that you like. And then you can click download up here in the top right, and I would download it as a PNG or a JPG, PNG or a JPEG. Those are image files, so you can upload them everywhere in Blackboard. So you download it. Stop trying to get me to buy things. Then you save it to your computer somewhere. And to upload it as the course banner, so the course banner will be across the top of whatever you designate as the launch page for your course. For me, that's always announcements. The launch page is what opens anytime someone opens the course. So down here in customization, because Blackboard hides things in the most random places, teaching style. You can decide what your course's launch page is, the entry point. So I do it on announcements, but if you want the first week of the semester, you can make it start here. And then after that, you can change it to announcements or lessons, whatever you want. But that is where the banner will be on your entry point. And then down at the very bottom, you browse and then you upload the file. And then just make sure that you have alt text so that students who can't see the banner itself still knows what it says. And then you click submit. And it will be on your announcements page. If you want to just add a banner like, yes, Samantha, I'll go back in just a second. If you just want to add a banner like this, so that's not a course banner, that's just an item. You just create content, create an item, and then you use this little mountain photo. Browse my computer, and you can upload. Oh God, you're gonna see all the random stuff I have on here. Whatever banner you want. Do I have no banners saved on my computer that I can use as an example? Great. I'll just use this photo of Captain Marvel instead. Open, and then we'll type in an image description, photo of Captain Marvel. Insert. Submit. And so then it would, if you put a banner up there, it would look like this, but because I put a picture of Captain Marvel, it's right there. Sorry, that's the first thing that came up on my computer. Also, that cat I showed you earlier is named Goose. That's Captain Marvel's cat's name. So you're welcome. Now you know way too much information about me. Okay, how to change your entry point. Again, that was just in customization, teaching style, select course entry point. Thank you, Nicole. I love my personality too. The banners in my lessons, it's so awkward to make a joke and not hear people laugh. So
let me turn my mic on so I can encourage you.
Thanks.
And
audience.
What? Oh.
Okay, so for instance, that have you checked your email today banner is 1,000 by 100. I think that banner with all my favorite things is 1,200 by 200. So you can just experiment with what you want it to look like. Someone just typed haha. Thank you. Appreciate it. So it is 11:55. I will say this. I'm going to post the link to the sign-in sheet in case any of you are trying to go to. Now, we don't have a 12 o'clock session, so we don't have to worry about getting people to a 12 o'clock session. But I do want to give you the link in case you have other things to do. But then I will show you how to do an audio file. For those of you who want to learn that part, I will stick around and show you that. So here's
Allegra, somebody asked if you use other websites like social networks to engage with students.
So my Twitter account is public, and students will look for you on social media for sure. So like my Facebook account is private, my Twitter account is public, but I don't. And there are some students who follow me every semester because they Google their teachers. They all do that. So I intentionally made that public, and it's like a professional Twitter. So I tweet things about teaching and learning. But I don't use it. Number one, it's not really true that all of our students are on social media. Most of our younger students are on social media, but a lot of them, frankly, don't want you to involve them on social media because they post stuff that's kind of what we would say is inappropriate. But also we have a lot of older students in our online classes and in all of our classes, and those individuals may or may not be on social media. So I know the perception is young people these days are all on Twitter, but that's not really true about all of our students. And I don't really want to mix those two worlds. So if my students are using Twitter to talk about their crushes or to post weird memes, I don't really want to see it. And I have a lot of ways of reaching my students. I use announcements, I use email, I'm in Google Meet, I'm available all the time. And once we start using Teams, then my students can send me chat messages, which is great in terms of availability, but might be a little frightening in terms of volume. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, but I know that one of our tech writing instructors absolutely uses Twitter, and that's a great way to do it if it works for you and your students. So I'm not saying don't do it, I just don't. Okay, so Audacity is what I use for audio files. So if you just search Audacity download, you're going to get, it's the speakers and this thing. So it is freeware. And I know that most people are wary of freeware because you're not sure what you're downloading to your computer, but it is freeware and it is totally fine to download to your computer. And once you have it downloaded and open, it looks like this. So honestly, the record button records, the stop button stops, the play button plays. So if you just want to make a short recording, that's the basics of what you need to know. I'm going to open a file so you can see what I recorded. Really? What about open recent? Here we go. So like my summer one audio intro. Okay, thanks. I don't know where I moved these files to. Someone in another session last week told me to clean off my desktop. So then I moved everything that was on my desktop, but now I can't find anything. All right. So a sound file is going to look something like that. This is actually a song, so it's not going to look exactly like that. But once you have recorded audio, you can highlight sections and cut them out. You can highlight the whole thing. You just hit Control A, select all, and you can take out background noise, which is somewhere on here, noise reduction. You can add music if you wanted to, but that's probably not something that you want to do. So yeah, I just record. I have a good microphone. I have a Yeti microphone that costs about $100, but you can use whatever you're using to talk to us. Most likely it sounds fine. And hit record and then stop. And then if you had a part in the middle that you messed up and you want to select it, you can just cut it out. So that's how I make it. And so then I just forgot to show you how to save the file. Great job. So then you go to save, export, and then you export it as an MP3. Those are high quality, but take up less space. You can upload those directly into Blackboard. You don't upload videos directly to Blackboard because they take up too much space. But I have 15, at least 15 sound files in every course I have, and I'm not maxed out on space. So you can upload audio files directly to Blackboard. If you run into an issue where you have too many and your Blackboard course is full, that's fine because we're going to switch to a new LMS in a year anyway. But you can save stuff in your Google Drive and link students to it if you needed to. Just remember, if you're going to make audio, to read from a script, so then you can post the text for students to read or the audio file for students to listen to.
Did you answer the question about the dimensions for the banners throughout the lessons? They're different sizes.
They are different sizes. Some are 1,000 by, I can't remember numbers. I don't know if that's a deficiency in my brain. Some are 1,000 by 100 and some are 1,200 by 200. So it just depends on how you want. So that's 1,200 by 200. and that's 1,000 by 100. So that's going to be longer and less tall, and that's going to be a little taller. Did I answer everyone's questions? Does anybody want to see anything else in a course? Watch me do anything else? Can I help with anything relating to online teaching? Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. That doesn't mean that you have to leave, but I'm going to stop the recording so that people watching the video